Hi there. I'm really glad you're here. This is a project I've been meaning to start for a while now. Um, it's a channel about whittling, but it's also about things like slowing down, working with your hands, and finding a bit of calm in small everyday spaces. My name's Charisma, and I'm what I like to call a long-time beginner at whittling. I actually started whittling during the pandemic. Like a lot of people, I was, suddenly home, anxious, restless, not quite sure what to do with all that nervous energy. And one day my boss suggested something simple to try a repetitive activity that you could do with your hands. I'm not great at doing things like knitting or crocheting. I've crashed and burned at those before. And whittling sounded cool. You could throw your scraps in the fire or something, and it just sounded cozy, like something that I could pick up and get into. At that time, I lived in an apartment with a small balcony. Really, no workshop ever that I've had. No fancy studio, just really like a chair, a knife, and whatever wood I could find. And honestly, I wasn't sure if it would stick, but it did. It really became a way to manage things like anxiety for me and help calm down. The repetition, the focus, the progress or quiet progress of turning something like rough into something useful was awesome. It really gave me a creative outlet when my world felt really small. And it's something it still gives me today. Since then, since I started, I made a couple of moves. I've moved, my living situation's changed, but one thing has stayed the same. I've always been carving in small spaces. So right now I live in like a 650 square foot studio apartment. So I'm at my desk here in this video, and immediately behind me is like my bed, and then behind that is like the kitchen, etc. So this is kind of my faux, my work desk. It's also my whittling desk. And if you've watched whittling or woodworking videos before, you've probably noticed that a lot of creators have these beautiful, just like dedicated studios, workshops, or wood shops, lots of room to spread out, big wooden stumps that they carve on top of, big chopping blocks where they can axe things out. And that's really cool. I love watching those videos. I'm a big fan, but it's really not my reality. Maybe it's not yours either. So this channel, it really exists for people who are whittling or want to start whittling in like small apartments or even shared spaces who don't have a ton of room. We might do a couple videos outdoors. That could be kind of fun, but just, no fancy setup, no perfect aesthetic, big studio, just patience, curiosity, creativity, and willingness to learn as we go along. Most of right now what I carve is things like that could be useful. So spoons, bowls, simple kind of like functional objects. I really love items that can be used, that I can use in my house, that can be gifted, or that I don't mind living with. I sometimes carve things like small figurines, but I'd love to really expand into more projects like that over time and get better with that. I definitely don't pretend to know everything. I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm like a 5-year, going on 6-year-old beginner. And I do think there's something really valuable about that. On this channel, you won't find things like rush tutorials or loud edits. I hope my voice isn't carrying too loud on my first video here. My hope is that what you'll find is calm, cozy carving sessions, really approachable, like beginner-friendly explanations. Maybe every now and then we'll do an honest discussion about tools or mistakes I made and things like that, and definitely practical ways to whittle and do this hobby safely and comfortably and cozily in a small space. My ultimate hope is that this becomes a place where fellow whittlers, especially beginners, feel welcome. A place where it's okay to ask questions in the comments section, where feedback's encouraged. I'm definitely going to ask anyone who's taken the time to view this video or the coming videos for feedback, because I want to learn and get better too. I don't know about y'all, but I don't have a lot of, I live in San Francisco City, so I don't know, there might be, but I just don't know of any in-person carving groups in this area. So having that feedback or the ability to do something like YouTube and get some sort of sense of community, but also be able to learn from each other and improve in this craft remotely is, I think, really valuable. Hopefully we can learn from each other and not just watch from a distance. Weekly, I plan to share things like maybe an educational video and one project video, so something that I'm learning, a technique, some sort of like tool or safety technique, or a small space carving tip, something like that, and then try to utilize that thing that I'm learning into a project that week, where I slowly work through carving from start to finish, and then kind of inquire if anyone has feedback to help me improve in that skill. And I'm sure that most projects will not go smoothly. It's kind of part of the process. I'm sure it will be rare that the projects will go smoothly. Whittling it's really stayed with me. It continues to offer the same things for me that it did during the pandemic. That just sense of calm, that ability to focus on something, and while still offering the sense of progress. One small cut at a time. If you're here because you're curious about picking up whittling, or you've been a long-time whittler who doesn't mind giving a beginner some tips, if you're here because you like cozy sounds, or if you're here because you're anxious like me, or if you just like the sound of a knife moving through wood, you're in the right place, I hope. So if this sounds like something you'd enjoy, I'd love for you to join me on this journey. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever we are supposed to say for YouTube, but also okay if you want to just quietly carve along. That sounds great to me. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.